My name is Ben Spratt. I'm one of the associate rabbis at Congregation Road of Shalom, which is a large Reform synagogue on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. We put out the word that we as a congregation were going to take this journey to Cuba with a focus on exploring the Jewish history, the Jewish stories, and the Jewish communities and people of Cuba. We were expecting to see a real broken spirit, and instead what we found was this very passionate drive to find success and fruition no matter what the circumstances. The mythology around Jewish Cuba is that it actually goes all the way back to the Spanish Inquisition, and that actually at that moment with the expulsion from Spain, there were many Jews that made their way ultimately to Cuba. In 1881, the Spanish Empire changed the laws of restriction about who could or could not immigrate to Cuba, and Jews were allowed. With the US starting to then limit its own immigration, Cuba ended up being one of the most popular destinations for Jews fleeing Europe. With the rise of communism and all of the businesses, especially the US businesses, being nationalized, most of the Jews in Cuba ended up fleeing. Over the matter of about 3 years, 90% of Jewish Cubans fled Cuba. All of the rabbis left. It meant that there was really no leadership in Cuba, and you weren't allowed to really be expressing your religious identity. In 1991, there was I believe it was the fourth Communist Congress there in Cuba. They decided to shift the communist ideology from being atheistic to being secular. Unlike in Europe and in many other areas of the world where Jewish communities are struggling to feel embraced, supported, and safe, in Cuba, people are proud. They are putting their Jewish identity out there. Cuba has been very embracing, especially nowadays, for the Jews there to express their identity and even taking a real liking to the story of Jews and the tenacity of the Jewish spirit. We wanted to visit the Jewish cemetery there just outside of Havana. It's a cemetery that's been around for over 100 years. You get to look around that cemetery and you get to see that there are Russian Jewish graves, that there are Sephardi Jewish graves, Ashkenazi Jewish graves, so many different traditions. And we got to stand there at the Holocaust Memorial that is there in the cemetery just outside of Havana. And we got to be there to honor and remember those who died in the Holocaust, even as we stood there thinking about the Jewish journey that was inspired mostly by persecution, whether from the Spanish Inquisition, World War I, or World War II, that brought waves of Jews to the shores of Cuba, and that Cuba, for so many, was meant to be a promised land or a safe haven. Most of us came back wanting to believe that we are still very much a people on a journey, a people reaching towards a bright and beautiful future, and a people that will only get there by taking Judaism onto our own shoulders.